What's up, YouTube? I don't like to keep y'all waiting. I go by Nas, the Conscious Thinker, Bel Air 316 on YouTube. For those of you who are subscribed, I appreciate it. Um, Stick through the video. Stick through the video. Watch the full thing in full. Everybody can learn from it. Women can learn from it. Men can learn from it. Whether you're young, whether you're mid-age, or whether you're a little older, you can see perspectives because we all eventually go through the same things in life, man. And yeah, I don't want to keep you waiting, but I highly suggest you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification bell if you haven't already. Be notified when I drop more honest interviews, more honest speeches, or advice or observations, man. This video is going to be a little bit of venting. I'm going to keep it respectful. I don't get too in my emotions like that, but it's to give knowledge and to talk about an issue that's going on and misunderstandings, especially in this relationship culture. Dating is trash right now, and the blame is going on. Everybody's throwing the blame on a lot of people. I like to be honest in situations that I get in, and I give my full. And if it's not reciprocated, I move on. And when I move on, I don't downgrade, and I mean that respectfully. There is a certain standards that women have in dating, and one of the huge things that come up is financial status, and that's understandable. Um, Women, especially when they hit that 30-year-old age and older, and even younger women, but especially when they hit that 30-year-old age and older, financial status becomes a big uh, topic of conversation, and it's a big determinating factor in who women choose and who women choose to get away from and go to. And I just want women to understand that when you have financial requirements, when you want men that make specific financial requirements, or should I say minimal, at least financial requirements, like when you want men that make these $150,000 a year and above, and 200,000 above, and these millionaires, that's okay. Us guys like myself that that are not millionaires, we don't get offended about it, but women at the same time would get offended when those guys have certain age requirements and certain look requirements. Women, when you guys use your looks, cause that's, let's just call it how it is. I don't like to sugarcoat things. Guys like looks, women like status. That becomes very apparent, especially later on in life, let's say 30 and above. But even at 25, people start to realize it. A 30-year-old woman starts realizing that work is hard, and they start thinking like, man, can I see myself do this for 10 more years, or for 20 more years, or for 30 more years, and the bills start piling on, and the gas prices start causing stress, and burnout does happen, and injuries do happen. So women start thinking about how much men make, a lot more after 30. So if they're in a situation, or when they date a guy that doesn't make a certain amount, um, that guy is always at risk for being replaced, right? And that's guys, whether they want to admit it or not, they understand that. In addition to like other standards or requirements that women have, guys typically don't take it personal, because there's always going to be, just like there's always going to be some guys that like some women, there's always going to be some women that like some guys, even if they don't meet some standards. Like I said, for myself, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not 6 feet 8. Um, yeah, but I still find myself in situations with beautiful women. But with that said, even women, like guys prefer looks, right? So these guys that prefer look is not to say that women that don't look a certain way aren't going to have a specific crowd of guys who still like them. But to get even more straight to the point, these women, a lot of women that have these. these salary requirements for men that they have to make this certain amount. You got to understand that these men are going to have their requirements and how a woman should look. You look at when men reach their peak financial requirement ages. Like let's use Al Pacino for example. He's like 84, and he just had a baby, if I'm not mistaken, with a woman in her 20s. You look at Jamie Foxx, he's 50s, he's like 56. He just had a baby with a woman that's like 32. He met the woman when he was like 52 and she was 26. That's about like a 25 plus year relationship gap. You look at President Donald Trump, not to make this political, but he's about 30 years older than his. The list goes on. You look at Idris Elba, um, he's about 20 or about 20 years older than his significant. You look at Tyler Perry, you look at 50 Cent's last relationship. The list goes on. When men reach a certain uh, financial status, they go for what they want, and they typically go for younger women because men like looks. That's just what it is. Women get highly offended when men say that, and but those same women still want men that make a certain amount, and those same women don't take in regards the feelings or the self-esteem of those men that don't make those certain salary requirements, and those women would probably like replace those men, and those same women would say like it's wrong for a man to have their own requirements, right? And yeah, just a lot of women have to realize that, man. I know people think that making, and this is not necessarily about me. Like I don't, like I said, I'm not a millionaire, but me, I have a little bit of freedom. Like I don't have no kids, um, and I could always go to like out the country, or I could, when you don't have no kids, and when you have freedom, and when you just have like, when you have good credit and at least a stable income for a guy, that's actually kind of good, man. And that's not to say that a guy shouldn't strive to be better, and better his situation. But yeah, when you have stability, good credit, you don't, and no kids, you have a lot of open doors. So when you're dealing with women who, cause don't get me wrong, like I was in a recent relationship with a woman who was pocket watching, man, and she was asking a lot about salary, and I personally didn't take it personal, but that relationship did end, and you know a lot of those women typically go in those same cycles when they take advantage of the man's money, but when the guy take advantage of a woman's age, they say that the guy is in the wrong, and it just becomes a revolving circle, man, a revolving pattern. Those women have to realize that when you have these certain requirements, especially like salary requirements, these men are going to want you to look like 19-year-old Zendaya or 19-year-old Ariana Grande. And the older you get, even when you just turn 27 and 30, when you want these guys that make this much, that can provide for you in those ways that you want, they're going to have their own requirement, man, and it's going to be about looks. I'm not saying that to sound rude or disrespectful. And when you're young, and when you're a woman that got like a, I'm going to be blunt, man, because this is what it is. When you got like a big butt, or when you look a certain way, when you go to the mall or anywhere in public and you like 23 or 26 or whatever, you got a big butt, or you're like a stripper, and you getting spoiled, like these guys are spoiling you that got the money, and you're taking advantage of the situation. I'm not saying you're wrong or right for doing so, but you're not developing relationship skills that take into consideration how hard it is for guys to make money, and for the percentage of guys that don't make that amount of money, right? So you don't know how to treat or how to appreciate men who make middle class or lower, middle class money or lower. You're so when the world is so given to you at such an early age, when you could go on that yacht at 18 just because you got a particular body shape, and you don't have to go to the gym or something to look a certain way, it's handed to you, so you don't feel that you need to develop relationship skills with a honest living guy that probably doesn't make that much, that you're probably going to have to um, I'm not going to say going to have to, but that you're probably going to feel you have to settle for in your 30-year-old years, and your 40-year-old years, and 50-year-old years. And the conflict now is that since you didn't develop those skills, those guys that made those middle class, they're, finding different better situations overseas and things, that they're finding more humble women, or they're going for like younger women that are like in their early 20s, that would appreciate like a Red Lobster date, or an Applebee date. And that's not to throw no shade on nobody. I know I've been doing a lot of interviews with a lot of women that's been stating that they'll be offended if a guy took them to Red Lobsters or Applebee's, because these particular women has particular shapes. But I want to tell you women, and you could tell me if I'm lying, like, if because one of the girls that I know, and she's cool, and I hope she doesn't use this video against me, but she said a guy that she liked wouldn't take her to Applebee's or something like that. And my question to her is, why hasn't one of those guys married you or something like that? And I'm not saying this to downgrade you or to talk bad about you, but if a guy really likes you, and if you're really that prize, a guy would claim you significantly, man. Like a guy would marry you, man. Like a guy would make sure you don't have to go back to school in your 30s, or anything like that. A guy that has that kind of money, they'll give it to you if you're that one guy, if you're that one lady that he really likes. But it's too much pride to admit that, or even to see, because you so used to being having things handed to you, and you never learn how to respect or to appreciate an honest guy that will use his hard earned money to take you to a restaurant, just in general. You haven't developed those skills to where, like, you know um you don't see that those high money guys is looking at you like you're just 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000. And as soon as you turn 30, they're going to go straight back to the 21-year-old, or to the 22-year-old, or even to the 18-year-old. And that's not to judge those guys, but that's just to say, like, when you have certain requirements, people are going to have requirements back. And it's a lot of women that play the victim role when life hits them in their 30s, when they be so confused because they don't know how to treat men, because the rich man always been able to buy them with money. And when they have like I don't know, like maybe kids, or when their face doesn't look how it did at 22. And I'm not saying that I personally would judge a woman for her face, but that's what these rich guys do, judge women based on. That's why Al Pacino is about 60 or 40 or 60 years older than his significant other or his spouse. That's why Leonardo DiCaprio um, gets a new girl after his girl turns 26. That's why Tyler Perry is 20 years older than his spouse. That's why Idris Elba is at least 20 years older than his spouse. That's why Jamie Foxx is at least 20 years older than his spouse. And a lot of women, they go for these kind of, and there's nothing wrong for those guys, for the women to go for these guys, but just when women realize that those guys could replace them, they have this idea, and they verbalize that all men are just trash and dating is trash just because it's the man's fault. But they don't have no accountability, or they lack the accountability to admit that guys are not trash. You chose to ignore honest and humble dudes because you thought it would work in your favor. And those honest and humble dudes that were the middle class, they eventually worked on themselves and got smart and realized that, oh man, why should I have to like settle for this girl that has like noble expectation, noble meaning like that those 5-star restaurant expectations all the time, especially for first dates, and this expensive taste. Like, why should a middle class settle for that when they could go to Thailand, or they could go to Philippines, and have a humble situation? And even when women in the Thailand and Philippines start using men for money, then now it turns into like, all right, women are using men for money and men are using women for their body. It's not that men started that uh, chess game or that advantage. Women took advantage of it first or at the same time as guys, but women always feel that guys started it, or and when it doesn't work in their favor, um, and they end up 30 and 40 and 50 and just lonely, and they see these guys that eventually built themselves up because they respected those women's standards and they built themselves up, and now these guys don't want them and they want the new 22-year-old that they could probably like start a family with, and then these women try to tell these younger women that, oh, don't be with these older men because they want to take advantage of you because you got a younger body. But it's been these same women that was 18 and 22 that was strippers, or that did have sugar dads, because that's basically what it is, that they took advantage of. And these women are still active on sugar sites, but they're trying to tell 22-year-olds to be just like them, to like, oh, um, don't let them use you, and they're not telling these younger women that they use these guys, and that's why dating is in the trash situation that it's in right now. Like I said, this was going to be a little bit about some vents here, but it's just the truth, man. This is what I'm seeing, man. It's a lot of women that was the hot girl at 18 and 22 that took advantage of her options, and overlooked a lot of guys and played the victim later on in life, because nobody wants them anymore. And part of it is because how they look. And it's not to say that I would judge a woman how they look, but a huge majority of the reason is because those women never learned how to appreciate honest working men, and a man that works so hard for his money to develop himself is not going to settle for BS, or going to settle for being like a second choice, or anything like that. It's so easy for a man. Look, I want to make sure I say this before I forget, or before this video ends, man. um, a 68-year-old guy could go to out the country or even in the country, and it's going to cost it. I don't do this, right? But I've been places, I ask questions, I interview a 68-year-old or even older, a 90-year-old guy could pay $125 out the country, and could a 80-year-old or a 90-year-old guy be with the most could have a night with the most prime looking 21-year-old, whether in the country or out the country, for like 125,000, not for $125. But if you flip it, a 21-year-old guy wouldn't even accept $10,000 to do any kind of encounter with an 80-year-old woman. And y'all could tell me if I'm lying. An older guy just needs $125, and he could go to Tijuana or something and be with the best looking woman for the night. But an older woman is going to have to pay like millions, if the guy would even accept it, for a 21-year-old guy to do anything for that night with her. And like I said, y'all can tell me if I'm lying. I'm not saying that to sound rude or to sound disrespectful. It's just to say that you women that are using men for money, or having certain salary requirements, and looking over guys that make humble money, that are just middle class or even a little lower class, but they would treat these women really good. You women do that to yourself. You women are overlooking these guys, and when you reach a certain age toward these high value men don't want you no more, because um, you took advantage of your body because you had like a certain body part, or you had certain injections, or you took advantage of your youth. And then when reality hits you when you're in your 30s, and it's not the same no more, because if these men really wanted you, they would have locked you down, right? And you just lost it in your 30s and your 40s. It's gonna be a crazy reality, man, and y'all don't believe it until it happens, and the cycle keeps on continuing. And social media and everything, and options, man. Like, people think options is a women think options, it works in their favor. Don't get me wrong, it does when you're young, but ask these strippers that had all these clientele, and that was making thousands per customer when they was 18 years old. Ask them, why are they going back to college at 30? Ask these women that did have sugar dads, that did have men that was spoiling them, why are they going back to college at 30s and those men are still rich? It's because those options that you think you had, and that body that you think that you think everybody wanted, eventually all that comes to an end, man. And when you use somebody, you get used. And when you're in that whole when you don't have accountability and you're so blindly using and being used, you become too damaged to get in a relationship with a hard working and an honest living guy. And you become 30 and 40 and just confused. Meanwhile, the 30-year-old and 40-year-old guys that you ignored or that you didn't take serious because they wasn't a millionaire, these guys are going out the country, enjoying their life, being happy, and you just left out now. And these men are probably in situations with women in their early 20s or mid 20s, and still have a chance to start a family. And yeah, man, and you could just miss your opportunity. I didn't make this video to sound rude or disrespectful. I hope that you women watch this video and just see, like, try to be humble, man. Or you don't have to be humble, but you're gonna have to deal with your results of what you choose to be, or what you choose to have as far as a standard or certain requirements. Men are going to have their requirements. I hope you guys watch this video from the beginning to end. I hope you guys learned something from it. Share your thoughts, that will help a lot. Comment on it. Subscribe to the channel, man. Turn on the notification bell, that helps a lot. Hype the video, man. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers within a month, by, let's say, by July 4th. And yeah, man, that'll help a lot. Again, I hope y'all didn't take no offense from this video, especially the women that I do know. It's just that, look, you guys gotta open your eyes. You guys gotta realize, or this pattern is going to keep continuing. You're just going to keep being confused in your 30s and your 40s and just be miserable, and just be confused because you didn't want to listen. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate y'all for watching this video, and peace out, man. God bless all.